So basically, we're going to talk about tabletop work with CRLS. We had a lot of requests about this, and we've done a lot of miniature work with it too. And I moved into feature films a long time ago, so I started out in commercials. So I'm really happy to share my knowledge I had at the time doing food stuff. But it's really more about setting it up and how to use it, and not how to get a beautiful quality picture and stuff, because, you know, I'm a gaffer, so I'm really just able to talk about the lighting part, about the whole thing, and how to set it up so you guys can get where you need to go to get your magic going. So just because, you know, a lot of people have been using the C100s out there, and Michael, maybe just come in here. Michael is, you know, really in charge of building the C100. So I just want to talk a little bit so guys get a feeling about what the manufacturing process is. So what you're actually getting in your hands is not just, you know, a nice quality product. It's really a paintbrush. So Michael, I mean, how long does it take you to build a C100?
So for one set of reflector, takes about 3 to 4 hours to build. Because you have to check everything down to the screws and, you know, glue everything. Also other components that we have to build together, like the yokes we have to build. Also the protection pads that we need, you know, check everything.
Yeah. And when it comes down to the reflector and the qualities, because, you know, it's a really sensitive thing, especially if you're using like metal tools with it. What's the process for you of checking it and cleaning it until until you can pack it up into a bag?
Yeah, the one, I think it's the most tedious part, because little scratches, sometimes it's okay.
Yeah.
But then, so once you pull out the foil, that's when we only realize, okay, there's something wrong, and then you have to do it again, and we cannot ship it when it's damaged or there's something.
Yeah. And then we really take care about that. Mm-hmm. Okay, so thanks for that. So basically, I mean, when it comes down to the quality of the reflectors, you really have to think about of a massive magnifying glass, right? So you got this light source, say it's like the sun. It's like, for the reflector, it's like just like a really small dot, right? The sun. And when it goes into reflector, and then you really just spread it out, right? Suddenly this little dot from the sun gets magnified millions of times, because suddenly you got a surface of a 12 by or something like this, right? So you see every little detail that is wrong. And so that's what Michael really has to take care of when putting it together again, is that it takes time to put it together to get that quality done. So I think that's the most important part about the whole process of it. Okay, thanks so much. Let's go into tabletop work.
Exciting.
Yes. Right. So, okay, when we talk about tabletop work, what's most important is two things. One thing is we really have to take care of what we're actually lighting. So if you, for example, take two really extreme things, and we say we have a ball, right? And we have a silver ball. You see absolutely everything that's happening here in this silver ball. So as soon as you want to light a tabletop with something so highly reflective, you're not really taking as much care about the light itself. Actually, it's all about the reflection, right? Suddenly, it's not about us using the reflectors, we're lighting the reflector. So it's all about putting white surfaces and dark surfaces in to really get this thing moving and going. So that same thing like with lighting eyes, you really have to take more care about the reflection than actually lighting the object itself. So that's the thing if you do like plastics, or if you do like shiny metal stuff. So that's really where you want to look out for. This would be like a topic in its own to talk about this kind of stuff. What happens more than ever is we light objects that are more, matte to some extent. So we really actually can focus on where's the light coming from, where's it hitting, what can we do with that kind of stuff. So those are the two basic things always to look out for. So what you always see DPs do, and what I do as well, when it's saying, okay, we're going to light this. Take the object in your hand, have a look at it. What does it do? Is it shiny? Is it reflective? Is it matte? Is it dark? Is it bright? Can I light through it? Is it like a cool liquid inside? It can light like beer or something like that. I'm getting thirsty just thinking about it. So there we go. So that's basically what you have to take care about when you do it. And then, then you get into production design. You set it up. You want to put it somewhere, right? And then you want to start to light the whole thing. And what I've experienced a lot of times is that people approach it really technically. Like, this is the way you write tabletop work. You always do it like this or like this. You have this and this technique. And what I feel is you can get to a certain level, but to be honest, where it starts to get fun and where you really start to improve what's happening is actually when you add a story into it. So it's not just about saying, look, let's just take this product, put it on the table, let's just make it look nice and let's go home. Fine, totally fine. I wouldn't, if that happens, sometimes it just has to be that way. But most of the times when we're all really trying to push the limit, because, you know, we're being weighed in for like that. That's the last shot of the day on a commercial, and, you know, it's just really want to get it as perfect as we can. So when you start to add a story into it and say for yourself, well, where is this, you know, where is this thing standing that we're lighting? What is it doing? Why is it here? And we kind of add a story to that. That's, I think, where it really starts to get fun. So basically, from there, when you decide what do you want to do, you can decide what you're actually going to prep and what you're going to do. And we're going to run through this. So Michael, right? He isn't only really good at building reflectors, he's also insanely good chef. So the stuff he cooks, we're really happy here in the Lightbridge. He brings up a lot of great stuff. So what he did for us today is, what we can see here in the background, is something called a Guglhupf. Now, what's a Guglhupf? Let's quickly jump into this because I think it's really great. So we're going to do something really Austrian here today. We're going to do a Guglhupf. A Guglhupf, written like this. Let's see if everybody gets this here. It is written Gugelhupf. And basically that means, this part of the word in German means Google here. Google means like something shaped like this. And it basically came from really old farmers' women, and they wrapped their heads, right? So they always had like scarves around it. And this kind of thing going around the scarf was called a Gugel. 18, I don't know, whatever, right? Gugel. It tastes much better than it sounds, I swear to you. So this is basically where this came from, farmers' women walking around cooking Guglhupf. The second thing is Hupf. Basically, Hupf means jump. What it means is because, so you had this thing of a Google, meaning that you had something like a scarf that was on the head, but obviously now it's a pottery piece, and they put whatever it was in it. Michael knows much more about this than me. And then when you turned it around, it kind of jumped out. And that's the way actually where the word came from. So we're going to look at this piece of Austrian pastry in a moment and spend some time lighting it. So I thought it would just be good, there we go, to share where this thing came from. I think it's awesome. And it tastes really well, especially if Michael does it. So this is the one part about it. So we said, okay, if we're going to go back into the old, you know, I'm from Styria, so let's say it's in the Styrian mountains somewhere high up, and this farmer's lady is cooking this Guglhupf for us, right? Wouldn't it be like perfect? And Michael actually just found in my office, we had have this old table there, right? An old farmer's table. So we kind of used that to set it up there. So we said, let's be high up in the mountains. The sun's going down. It's late in the day. Everybody's coming home, you know, from mowing outside, and a little bit of the Haiti world, and you know, people coming in want to eat something. The last sunlight's coming in, and it's cool, it's blue, and that's basically the setting that we're going to be doing today to have a look at. So I really want to point out for everybody again, everybody who's watching this on Instagram, obviously, as we know, it's an iPad, so we're going to be limited to the quality. If you do jump to what we have on YouTube, you can also go back later again too. We'll edit it and put it back up again. You can see the better quality, because we can be jumping between a DSLR camera to see what could be a final shot, plus an overview camera to give you a feeling about how we lit it. But I'm going to try to explain everything on the iPad too. So when we're talking about lighting a space, right? And we're talking about setting up tabletop work, and let's just do like a bird's view here, right? So we're just saying, okay, this is our set, right? And so we're saying, okay, and here is our object of desire that we all want to eat. So basically what I do when I'm gaffing and I'm thinking about, well, what they need to set up. Obviously, there's always going to be like a top light. That's always something great to start out with, because it gives you a basically beautiful exposure that you can work off from. And we're going to have a look at something like that in a second, how to set that up with CRLS, actually to make your lives easier, because back in the days, what I did is I always did a book light from the top. And so it's always kind of clumsy doing 2 6x6 together, or just if it was a smaller object, just 2 meter by meter, you know, some wooden frames with a gel in it. So we're going to look into this. So one that we have to look into is our top light. The second thing that we have to look at is our key light, right? So the thing with the key light and lighting objects, I always feel is it's always better to start from the back, to give it a backlight. Because as soon as you start to front light stuff, you're always kind of lighting yourself into a corner, because then you're always battling the exposure you have, and you're always battling bringing out textures and everybody you're looking for in that object that you're lighting. So what I always try to do is say, okay, let's kind of backlight the key light a little bit, or side light it if it is, and really start out simple, not get overcomplicated from the beginning, because it's going to get, as soon as you get into details, it's anyway going to be there in a second. So basically setting up a key light, where it's going to come from, lighting into the object. Now the thing is, At some point there, when you have the key light and you got the top light, you're always going to be starting of doing something for the background. Plus, at some point, you're always going to bring some mirrors. We did that before, now we can use the reflectors. So there is some way to grip this stuff to make your life easier on set, because, you know, it always becomes like a forest of C-stands so fast. And I really try to avoid that. Obviously, somebody always going to bang into something at some point late in the day. At the same time, it's so hard to set up something additionally. Oh, we need a little bit something here or there. And if it's too clumsy already set up, it's going to be hard to look at that. So we're going to look at that as well. Okay, I guess I did enough dry talk. Let's just jump into what we're doing right now. I'll roll this out. Okay, the first thing that we'll have a look at is, let's look at our top light. I prepped something. I just be putting it together today because I didn't have a 1x1 frame, because we had a feeling like doing a 6x6 and a C100 above it. Not everybody has this, especially sometimes, you know, it's the way the shots are set up or the environments you have. So we thought, let's stick to the smaller reflectors today. Let's do a maximum of 50x50. I, of course, try to put everything on wheels as far as we can. So let's see how we can do this. Now I can show this off now. Okay, there we go. That's perfect. That's fine enough. So basically, think about what we do with a book light, right? A book light is, for all the you guys out there who haven't done this before, a book light always is you're bouncing into a surface and then you're diffusing it again. So from there, what happens is you always end up with some kind of a wedge, like a book, right? Like it's open. So what we did here is we did a frame. It's kind of cool. What I did is I did two eighth diffusions, but I put one on each side of the wood, so you got some distance. So actually the light's diffusing through the first level and then going through the second one. But that's just me nerding out, having fun. I haven't done a one frame in quite some years. So here we go. This is number one. And then what you usually do is you put a pulley board up here, right? And then you bounce into it. The cool thing is now what we did is we actually added a 50x50 reflector on the top. What this does actually now is gives you more control of the light that's going through here. Plus, you don't have to deal with such much spill light, because if you put a pulley board, what we automatically did is we always do with the whole thing, put a skirt around it, really try to contain it, right? Because you just really want the top light, especially if you're close to a background in some way, really just to kind of box in some way. Setting it up like this, you don't need this. And what I found kind of cool is, but the guys at Matthews can tell you more about this. Obviously, I love putting everything on wheels, like we can see here. The second thing is I put in a lollipop, if this is the same term, like it's a big gobo head. Then I just used, from a 6x6 frame, I just used one of these clamps to put the wooden frame on here. And then what I did on top here, I added a boom arm, which is kind of cool, because with the boom arm on top of here, I get so much control over angle again. And I already have set this one thing up, and I can twist it, I can turn it, I can level it out wherever I need to go it. So that kind of gives me a really fast and easy control. So that's something, yeah, that's just really great to do to that end. Okay, so basically this is what we did for our top light. We're going to be using this in a second. So I said, basically what I would do is, before the DP comes in, I would kind of set something up like this just to get stuff going. And from there, we would go on and continue to do it. So next thing I do is, obviously we set up a lot of stands, we get some lights going to that end. The other thing is, what we're talking about is when we know at some point we're going to bring in reflectors, and we're going to be adding another stand, another little reflector, another stand, another little reflector. So to avoid something like this, I do kind of pre-build stuff like this. And if I can is, like if I know here is our Guglhupf, right? So I know we're going to be doing something from here. So I don't want to bring in a lot of stands here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to boom something out. I'm going to hang arms off of here. Just prep it, because then when we come in with the reflectors, that's just something that we're going to do. So what I did here is, oh man, thanks, Michael. Okay, awesome. So basically, C-stand, awesome if it's all in black, obviously, because then you don't have to avoid all the duvetting going around, because you know, we're reflecting light. So obviously it makes just much more sense to keep everything in black to that end. Then what I do is I just take an arm, I just put head on it, overhead, and then from there I put on an infinity arm. This is my new objects of desire right now. This is the most precise thing I've used. Matthews also does knuckleheads. I must say they're not as precise, but the price range is just entirely a different world. It does work, but it's like with all grip that isn't built for that level of precision, when you kind of then fix it, you have to be so careful, because as soon as you start to tighten the screw, things start to shift. And that's the stuff, especially if you're using reflectors that are harder, like diffusion 0 gray or diffusion 1 black, it's going to start to bug you. If you like just a little bit off and you tighten the screw and it starts to move, then you kind of anticipate that move and you got to offset it in the beginning. So when you tighten it, it goes back where it needs to go. So if we got the luxury of having the infinity arms, I would really recommend this. Otherwise, you know, whatever does it, we just got to have to force yourself to work around with it. Then I love hanging, you know, the reflector bags straight onto the stand because that's going to give us really fast access going in and out to whatever is necessary. Anyways, so here we go. Let's start to light a Guglhupf. Yeah, there we go. So usually I'd bring in the top light first, right? But if we're doing something more moody and we're kind of tending towards, well, this is the end of the day and stuff, I might actually anticipate first to recommend to bring in the key light. Kind of work out what the mood is, if the dark evening sun, if the warm evening sun kind of works, and kind of go from there, and then bring in the fill light. Otherwise, I'd really start to do it the other way around, do basic light and come in from there. But then again, you see, it really depends on how you like to work and how you do it. Just, I'd really stay consecutive in some way the way you do it. Start with one thing, finish it, then go off to the next. Let's get started with some key light. So what we'll do here is, for the key light, is Michael will bring down, let's see what we got here first. So what we have here is, what we're going to bring in first is, let me just start to pan this around so you get a feeling what's going on here a little bit. We have a 50 by 50 here, that's going to be our key, and we're going to be bouncing it off, standing back here, if you can see it, a Q5 from Felix. So this is basically going to be our key light for this shot. It's so great, this light these days, they are so all bright enough, so that's actually never really an issue. And we're shooting on we're shooting on a 4 on 800 ASA. That's what the DSLR is basically set up for. On the iPad, you know, you won't get that kind of quality. Okay, let's get going from there. So let's bring on, Michael will turn down the fill light. I'll turn on the Q5. Boom, we get some light onto it. Turn this off. There we go. Kind of just pan it up. Okay, and then what we do is, can you turn off the vortex for a moment still? Awesome. Okay, so we got the gaffer's control as far as we can on all the objects, so it's great to go from there. So basically, we'll be setting up the key light first. So I am so far in frame here. I have to make sure about the iPad that we don't fall into any troubles here. Just reposition this on the DSLR camera, and then we go from there. Okay, let me just take this out of shot. There we go, much better already. So what we have here now is we got a Q5, 100%, and we're going into diffusion 2, color code blue, 50 by 50. So what I'm doing here is, as always, I'm playing around with the lights, right? So I'm figuring out where do I want the light to hit. And what you can see immediately is the precision, right? How much light do I want on the table? How much light do I want on the Guglhupf? And what I do always kind of look out for is, especially if we're kind of lighting the table plus the object, this is, even if we're making the most use of the inverse square law, this may be getting brighter than we want it to, just because this is our object of desire, right? So in terms of everything around the object we're trying to light, we're trying to kind of keep it as dark as possible. What you would usually do is bring in a flag, cut it, right? And again, we're already starting the whole process of bringing in too much gear. So in this case, what I do is I just kind of bring down the reflector. Let me just take this in frame so you see what I'm doing. I'm kind of just bringing it down to the level of the table. Then I'm pulling it out. Michael, would you mind repositioning the Q5? Hit it into the reflector. Oh, just into the reflector. Just pan it down. There we go. Okay, see? And now what I can do is, I mean, you saw before, because of the reflectors and the way they work, you really got a chance to say where you want the diffused light. So see what's happened? I actually can be really precise on how far I want the light actually to hit on the table, and how much I want of the object. And then I'm fine with just doing this with gobo heads in this case with the 50 by 50. I'll pull it out a little bit more so you can see better. Okay, there we go. I've got all angles open right now, covering my face so I don't get flared so I can see the image. So I'm really just panning it in here. And you see the magic? It really just feels like something's happening here. So it's really up to you then to decide, okay, this maybe be kind of cool. We hit it like this, And then we just kind of tilt it off a little bit off the table. So no flags necessary. High precision reflectors really give you the chance to position it exactly where you want it. So never forget to tighten the grip once you're finished. Nobody should run into this. And sandbag absolutely everything, because somebody's going to be running into this. So we don't want this to happen. Okay, so there we go. You'll see it better once again switching to YouTube. This is going to give you a better chance of seeing how the light's actually now hitting our Guglhupf. Okay, so we set up maybe something that could work as a key light. We like the direction, the way it's coming in, and we kind of like maybe what's happening here. So next step is we really have to illuminate this object more. So now it's really about time that we kind of bring in our fill light that we kind of prepped, right? So everything's on rows again. And so it's going to be really easy to do this. And, you know, I always keep going on about great gear and how much I like to work with it. Having great wheels on these stands here, the way Matthew ships them out, is just perfect to work with. And I'll show you in a second why this is actually so important to us. Okay, again with wheels, lock them down as soon as you like a position. Thanks, Michael. And we can go from there. Okay, so we're bringing the frame now, as you can see. Okay, what I'm doing now is, let me just see, I'm just panning around. I've got here a diffusion 4 super white hitting it in here right now. Why am I doing this? Obviously, what we want to do is we want to create a really soft ambience around here, right? So standard would be using like a kind of a light grid maybe on a 6x6. That's definitely what I would do. But in this case, it was kind of fun to say we're going to something moody. Let's make sure we really kind of just get it a little bit more spotty, and the light grid would open it up too much. So I kind of positioned the light where I need it, which is kind of fine. The thing is now, when we first were pre-lighting, what happened was the vortex behind the window was still on. So maybe let's bring that on for a moment. So yeah, there we go. And we had set it up. See, so we get this kind of feeling. Maybe it's fine on YouTube. Okay, it's all good. So it's too bright for you guys on the iPad. So it has this really warm, even-ish kind of color. And from there we thought, okay, let's keep the cool the same from the top too. Because, you know, the most important thing, let's jump in here again, about colors is always contrast. You actually still can see it on my head here, see? Okay, again, pointing. Here we go, something cool, and here we got something warm, right? In my two parts of the brain. And basically that means is that one color is going to become more intense because they added a second different color. So color contrast really helps us to kind of bring out one color. I mean, just look at paintings. I mean, if you look at Mark Rothko, for example, I don't know if you guys know him. Mark Rothko, great guy, amazing what he did in the 60s, abstract expressionism. What he was doing is he was just trying to figure out how does red look great. So he would set up rooms that are just dark enough, and he would be totally saying this has to be the light level of this. And you go into the room and just look at a red square. And I tell you, this red square is so intense and so insanely amazing at what it brings, at what it evokes in emotions, is that I started to look more into it. And if you walk closer to the picture, right, into the painting, what you see is it's not only red. There's red, and then there's blue on the corners, and there's some green in there, and there's some yellow in there. So you used all these colors just to amplify one. So in our case, if you want to bring out something really warm, and especially for us, because we're thinking about, you know, evening skylight, sunlight, it really makes sense to kind of always bring in these different colors. That goes for any kind of studio work. If you want to do something that kind of feels like day, always mixing colors. Put 2 gels on a lamp. Set up a cool soft top light. Bring in some warm light for the day. So that's basically something that really makes sense to look out for. So what's the next thing that we're going to be doing now? We talked about how the light kind of hits from the back. So what's really cool about this here is, maybe you can even see a little bit in the iPad, the frosting that Michael put on here. See how it's catching up in the blue? So that's really where we can see the different color of the top light, kind of just coming into here, giving us this cool texture, illuminating something different, and we're bringing in warmth from the back. So again, it's not only about color, it's not only about the contrast of the lighting, it's all about color contrast that really makes it look great. Okay, there we go from there. So basically what we have here is, now we talked about the Google, right? So the thing is really about, you know, these shapes here and how they're coming along. So you really kind of want to bring this out. And the best way to bring out texture is by raking light, meaning don't front light. Again, stay away from this. That's the last thing you want to bring in. Kind of rake it from the side. So that's something we're going to do right now. And to do this, we're going to bring in our little arm that we prepped. So can you see it? Yeah, there we go. Awesome. So cool, there it is. Drop it down a little bit so you can see it here too. So once again, just an arm. I have a knucklehead. I've got an infinity arm on here. Easy, nice. And I don't have two stands, I only have one, plus I'm keeping everything, the camera line free. So if the DPs are sitting at the camera, right, always keep a clear view, which is also important, that you can see the actor's face, that you can get in contact with them. Obviously, you want to be in contact with the Guglhupf too, so that kind of makes sense. Okay, the light source that we're going to be using for this is new, and I'm really into this, I tell you. So this is basically from Aperture. It's a Spotlight Mini with the 60X on it. And what I haven't seen in this kind of way is how clean the beam is, meaning there's no spill light coming off of this, which is really great, especially in the angle that we're lighting right now. Because once again, I'm not a big fan of bringing on too many stands. I'm just really trying to keep the set as free as possible and bring in only as precise gear as possible like this. So there we go. Here's a Spotlight Mini Zoom, and it's in an angle, and we're going to be hitting here our arms. So we're going to be close to the object, and we want to keep everything else clear from it too. So that's just important. Okay, I'll set this up again. So Spotlight Mini Zoom goes on. And we're going to add, let's say, a blue one, because basically what we want to do here is, right, we want to rake out the sides a little bit here, just to get it all going. Then maybe again, you know, in our case, we're not seeing the floor too much, so the table as much, so I'm not worried too much of light hitting it. Otherwise, I just go lower again, just kind of bring something in. At the same thing, you know, I'm staying consistent with my key lights coming in from the back. I'm kind of raking into the front. And then I just open up basically the knuckle here at the top. Set it where I wanted to go. I was raking the light like this a little bit. That's a cool thing with the reflectors. You just kind of want to take it to the position where you want to have it. And then by dialing it in and out, you really can set your position. And if you don't like the flavor, switch out the reflector. If you like the angle, just do more or less. But in our case, I think we really did it. I'm just raking it a little bit. And then I'm tightening the arm. And the cool thing is, okay, let me see, where was I here? If I tighten it now, I'm locked and I can walk away and absolutely nothing changes. And this is really the amazing thing. That's exactly what you want to do. I don't want to concentrate on the gear. I want to concentrate on the lighting, except obviously first mounting it correctly. Okay, let's bring the second one. So next one in. See, what's just beautiful here is with the blue, right? From the lavender. We really want to bring this out a little bit. So I'm just going to kind of rake it. Just kind of maybe do something like this on it. Yeah, just bring it out. Just kind of help a little bit on here. So that's good. I found a position with my hand, which I kind of always do because I don't want to be locked down with the gear. So it's just kind of fiddling around with your hand and then figuring out how you're going to get it there is much better than the other way around. This could work maybe. See, that's the whole thing. See how I'm putting it around? Now lighting the whole lavender. I'm still trying to stay true to the direction of the sun that we were doing. Maybe it's even could be a little bit more sun, but just to kind of get it up a little bit like this and leave the black ones in the dark. That's kind of full. And see what's happening now when I'm twisting it. That's fine. So maybe like this. Now when it twisted with the knucklehead, you have to be so sure that you hold it firmly in the front in the position, and then you're going to be fine locking in the back. Actually, that's the way to do it. Just hold the C wheel, bring it in position where you want it, really make sure you got a tight grip, and then if you tighten the knucklehead, you're going to be fine. We're almost getting there, right? The only thing I feel that we're missing is now we're lighting this side around, and we're kind of too dark back here. So just to add, wait, let me show this from the back here. Walk to the other side. So basically what we want to do is we just want to add a little kicker here because it's all about, you know, the Google, it's round. So we kind of just want to wrap it around from the other side too to get the plasticity out. So if we just kind of add something into here, and what Michael's doing, you see he's going too fast, he's jumping at this. Okay, so basically, you know, see we have the Q5 back there, and the Q5, if you remember, went into the 50 by 50. It's giving our key light. With the small reflectors, you can so easily steal something out from here just to add a little bit of a kick at the back because you're not going to be feeling the light loss on the 50 by 50 because you're so close. And again, it's not an extra light source. It's there. It's easy. We got the Guglhupf in the center. We got the top light coming down with the frame here. Sorry, guys, I'll just quickly do this for YouTube. So you got the frame over here. We got the book light coming into 50 by 50 diffusion white coming down. We got the 50 coming in here as a key. And what Michael's now doing is just adding a little bit of a kick from the other side. Yeah, there you go. To bring it out, I'll quickly go in here so we see what's actually happening. Okay, obviously we wouldn't want this in frame. We'd have to pull it out a little bit. Now, see, there we go. Easy. Easy, fast, and done. We're ignoring this little knuckle here in the back, yeah. And just a little bit, Michael, not too much. It's even too much, I think, already. Yeah, there you go. That's maybe nice. Because we want to do look out for, and there's, again, your taste, how you require it. Should this stay the brightest part, then make sure the kicker isn't hitting it at the same level. Just keep it down a little bit, but definitely bring it out. Maybe a little bit less, Michael? But that's maybe just me, you know. If you pan it up, and we don't hit here too much on the pottery, but we're bringing it up a little bit. Just pan it up a little bit. And now you bring it back on into the Guglhupf. Ah, yeah, nice. Yeah, maybe something like that.
That's good, no?
Yeah, it's very good. See how cool this is? It becomes so playful because that's just what it is. Cool. Okay, so we got that. There's a question here. What reflectors are you using for the raking light? Oh, I'm sorry if I didn't mention this. So basically, we have here a diffusion 0. It's a mirror replacement, right? Gray. That's giving us the light on the lavender. Then we're using here a 7x7 diffusion 2 blue, and that's giving us a raking light. Yeah, I mean, I think we did it, Michael. Looks awesome.
Yeah.
You want to look at the background, the color? What were you pointing at? Oh, I'm sorry. See, Michael's becoming better than I am. That's very good. So basically, what we're talking about was, okay, so we're there. Let's say the Guglhupf's done, and now we're going to get back to the part of the storytelling. So the thing is, we're bringing the sunlight, right? And the background, even if we think about we're high up on the mountain, so we're not even really seeing anymore. We're seeing more sky than we're seeing mountains. We don't have any sunlight right in the back on the window, right? So that, in that case, really is going to help us to bring out more of the quality. For that light, for the background, we're using a P3. That's really new from Felix. It's a really small spotlight. It's got an adapter for 20 degrees. The output's insane. It's a really cute little light to use. So Michael, and obviously we set it for warm as well, so it's around 4,000 or whatever, and we're just going to be lighting in the background. And actually what I did is, the light is so small, I put it onto not a normal gobo arm, I put it into one of the magic fingers from Matthew, so actually it's really easy to really reposition it, because I don't have to care about opening up the yoke and nothing. I just put it on there, open up the magic finger, and then I can adjust it where I want, and I close it down. Michael is actually doing this right now. Do you need it, Michael? Or, yeah, there you go. Oh, awesome. Such a fast learner. Okay, cool. That's awesome. Yeah, it's there. See, we got something in the background. That's really helping us tell the story of a late day for the whole thing. Here's the spotlight mini zoom. It's really hitting here across, going into the reflectors, and then going down onto the set. The Q8 is going into the 50 by 50, going into the double 8th diffusion frame. That's just with a little bit of distance. And then we got the Q5 as a key light going into the 50 by 50. And Michael stole some light out of that with a 7 by 7 on an infinity arm, giving us a beautiful little light here on the sides. Thank you, everybody, so much for joining, for taking your time for this and listening in. If you've got any questions, send us an email, support@lightbridge.com. We're there for you. Contact Matthews. There are dealers in the States. And they can also, obviously, amazing Martin is there, so he can answer any question related to grips and to the CRLS. Yeah, that was fun today. Thanks, Michael, for joining in. Yes, it was a pleasure. So everybody, have a safe week, have some safe shooting days, and see you back again soon. If there's anything, because this was actually a request to look at tabletop work, if there's anything you want to talk about, send us an email.